Hello, welcome to the Justin Hamilton podcast. Today we're going to be talking about the Fantastic Four film that just came out, Fantastic Four First Steps, and Steve Molk is going to be joining me to share his thoughts on this film. We have deliberately not discussed this film in advance, and so whatever happens will be nice and fresh, and we will take it from there. I have no idea if he enjoyed it. But I'd be surprised if he didn't. Um, so let's just get into discussing the film, and also I'll try to be uh, close to spoiler free. I'll talk about it in general terms, maybe what you've noticed from the trailer and stuff like that. But it's interesting to compare this to Superman that just came out recently. This is a new superhero film that just throws us right into the middle of the story. And what's also interesting about this is that you don't have to have watched any Marvel films. You don't have to have seen Eternals. You don't have to have seen Iron Man 2. You don't have to have seen any of those movies, any of the TV shows. You can just kind of watch this and you can enjoy it, or not enjoy it, but at least not feel like you have to do any sort of homework. I've never really been a massive fan of the Fantastic Four, even when I was collecting comics back as a kid. Um, there was a period that I read the most of the Fantastic Four issues I've ever read were around the John Byrne era. It's an interesting era because he is coming off the seminal run on Uncanny X-Men, and there's a real energy to these comics, especially early on. And he does a pretty good job, I reckon, of suddenly someone like Sue Storm's character is powered up and almost referred to as the most powerful character. And considering uh, she was almost like an ironic character in the 60s where, oh, the woman's invisible. Wow. I wonder how they came up with that idea. Her ability to project force fields and be a stronger character. Uh, they didn't get it all right, but it kind of helps pave the way to where we land in this film. So this movie does something that, man, I was thinking of my good friends Mitch and Troy at All Star Comics down in Melbourne. And a long time ago, we were talking about Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies, and the lads said that they would just love one of the films. Maybe it was before the second one came out or the third one came out. Uh, just start with a montage of Spider-Man fighting the Rhino, fighting the Shocker, fighting the Jackal, you know, uh, coming to a moment where he meets the Black Cat. All of these great characters, the Tarantula, maybe characters that don't necessarily need to be focused on and maybe aren't at this point strong enough to be a counterpoint to the main hero. And I always thought that was such a great idea. It kind of implies a world lived in and you can kind of jump into the story. And Fantastic Four does a really smart job of this. This is a fully realized universe. It jumps right in with Sue, as played by Vanessa Kirby, being discovering that she's pregnant, and Reed Richards, played by Pedro Pascal, uh, suddenly having to come to terms with that. Soon, Joseph Quinn, who is the Human Torch, and Evan Moss Bacharach, who is the Thing, suddenly realize they're going to be uncles. And very early on, you get a real kind of sense of what the dynamic of these four people are. So that's a smart move. And then there is a talk show which kind of goes through the history of the Fantastic Four. So we get their origin. We don't really need to see it. It's all done in archival footage. We get a sense of all the different villains that they've had to fight, and then we can just get right into the story. And it's interesting. This is a movie. in one way about a couple who discover they're going to have a baby after trying many times and not being capable in the past, and because they've been affected by, their adventures, it's the cosmic rays that give the Fantastic Four their power. And so they have believed that they have been incapable of having children, and now they have a child on the way. So they have to come to terms with that. They have to come to terms with uh, what's happened to them, how it might affect their child. And they have family members, a brother, a close friend who will immediately become uncles. And you know what? As a basis for a film, that is a nice, rock solid foundation. Because I think the problem with a lot of these films over the years is that they get away from something we can relate to as being. Uh, a way in to empathize with characters and be able to have a sense of where these people would fit in a normal world. We've discussed this a lot on the podcast. You have to get the things that we recognize in the real world correct, so then we can accept, pardon the mild pun, the fantastic. So I think on a very base level, I think this is a good way in. Uh, and then, of course, we have the superhero part of the storyline, which is there is an alien on their way to Earth, and that alien is known as Galactus. For those of you who have not read the comics, Galactus is almost a godlike creature who has been around since the previous universe. Galactus was just an ordinary man who managed to survive the previous universe and is born into this universe as Galactus with this insatiable hunger and is almost like a force of cosmic proportions who goes around destroying planets, absorbing them, and kind of keeping a level of balance. Uh, Galactus is at his most interesting when he's not written as a typical bad guy. It's more like trying to argue with a tsunami or a tornado. He is something that exists to maintain a level of balance and is therefore indifferent to the ramifications of what might happen on said planet. We also have a female Silver Surfer, the Herald of Galactus, and the Silver Surfer's job is to find planets that are perfect for the Master to be able to absorb. So now we have the overall superhero version of the story that we can kind of lock into. And then from there are some nice twists and turns. And I won't say too much more than that. You kind of know that from the trailer. When I speak to Molk, I will go into spoiler territory. And maybe if you want to wait until you've seen the film, then you can check that part out. But I haven't seen a Marvel movie for a long time at the cinema, and it was only recently that I even watched a Marvel film, which was Volume 3 of Guardians of the Galaxy. I was a fan of Daredevil Born Again, but they are the only things that I've really engaged with. And I was kind of umming and ahhing about seeing this film at the cinema. I nearly went and saw Thunderbolts, but in the end, life got too busy and just didn't really have a motivation to take time out to see it. I figured, I'll just watch it when it ends up on Disney Plus. But I really like the cast of this film. So that had me pretty much leaning towards going to see it. I was also curious because Fantastic Four has never really been done right. I think one of the hardest things to do with the Fantastic Four is the fact that when this comic came along in the 60s, it was a response to what DC was doing, which was they'd just created the Justice League of America, and superhero comics had kind of uh, boomed and had subsequently floundered, and that had gotten some good sales. And over at Marvel, they were like, "Oh, why don't we try our own superhero comic?" And they don't even really have costumes in their first few issues, but that's how the Fantastic Four are born. And it's also a period of the 60s where space exploration is at the forefront of all news stories. The race to the moon is something that is in the ether, and it's an interesting time capsule because when Marvel come along, it is also a decade of we've seen the after effects of Hiroshima. We know the Cold War is happening. There is an arms buildup, and the fear of nuclear war and the atom is prevalent, and kids are feeling it. So when you go and you look at a lot of Marvel stories, they are incredibly reflective of that era. The Fantastic Four, space race, head out into the unknown, get bathed with cosmic rays, and then subsequently have superpowers. In the Marvel universe, if something happens with atomic power, you're all right. You just end up with superpowers. Spider-Man, radioactive spider, gets bitten, superpowers. The Hulk, testing a bomb. He goes out to save young Rick Jones, gets Bruce Banner gets caught in the blast, becomes the Hulk. Even Daredevil. Daredevil is just a kid who gets hit with a radioactive isotope that's traveling through the city. It blinds him, but he develops a radar sense that allows him to, in many ways, see in his own way. Iron Man was a test to see if you could take the most awful type of person and turn them into a superhero. And what is Tony Stark other than an arms dealer in Vietnam? And that was Stan Lee's challenge. Like it's only really Thor, who's a doctor, who finds a stick and he goes boop, hits it and goes bye bye. He's a Norse god. Like that's the only one that kind of uh, breaks the pattern there. That and Doctor Strange lends itself to the supernatural and the weird, and the Steve Ditko imagination gets to really run wild. But yeah, that's kind of the origins of the Marvel Universe and where the Fantastic Four come into it. Um, that first run by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, it's like 102 issues, I think, and it is like just bubbling away with ideas and the things that happened in one issue now would be like a year's worth of storylines, but they were packed full of ideas. Actually, I was going to share one with you now, but I'll save it for when Molk is on, and I'll break down one of the early comics that introduces Doctor Doom, and you'll kind of marvel once again another mild pun at the uh, amount of story that is just in a very simple one issue, but. I think one of the hard things to bring the Fantastic Four to the big screen is that the comics are pen and paper. So when you draw Reed Richards turning into a ball or turning into a net or changing his body shape in lots of crazy ways, you just kind of accept it because it's a comic. It's nowhere near our world. So you just kind of accept comic physics. But then when you see it on the big screen and movies, even fantasy movies, they look more like the real world. So watching Reed Richards turn into a ball would be like, what is that? That just would feel a bit weird. It's a little bit like uh, like the Green Lantern movie with Ryan Reynolds, like don't get me wrong, that movie had heaps of flaws, but when I see in the comic a an alien that is a triangle with tentacles and it has a Green Lantern ring, you just go, oh, that's an alien. But when you see it on the big screen, you go, that looks weird. That doesn't work. What is that? That's insane. So I think part of the problem is bringing Reed Richards to the big screen is to just have a character who was fundamentally a little bit silly for something that's closer to the real world. They do a good job, slash, maybe take the coward's way out of never turning him into a ball. It's all his powers are used sparingly. And, there's kind of one scene where you really see uh, how stretchy he is, I guess. But for the most part, they try to avoid it and focus more on the character and the person that he is. They do a good job. All the actors are really well chosen, and uh, I would like to see these characters where they go from here. I would particularly like to see Joseph Quinn's Johnny Storm and Tom Holland's Peter Parker team up. Those characters have always had a frenemy relationship in the comics, and I think the two of them could really do a good job acting off each other. Uh, yeah, I think the acting in this is quite well done. I love the aesthetic of the world because this is a world that is not our world. It's another Earth, Earth 828. So they can just build an aesthetic that doesn't have to fit into Marvel continuity, and it's a pleasing aesthetic, It's kind of retro futuristic and nice colors. Marvel still seems to be treating its CGI component poorly, and there's some of the effects that at times you wish they'd defined it a little bit more, taken a little bit longer with it. But it's the same a little bit with Superman as well. Like for the most part, I thought that looked fantastic. But whatever that weird proton sea that he was caught in was just a bit murky and a bit muddy. And you think, oh, wish he just did something a little bit cleaner. But that's a minor quibble. Um, and I'll share more of my thoughts with Molk on where I feel like this could have improved a little bit. But strangely, this movie is so tight, and I think the actors are so good that I would have liked to have had a little bit more uh, down moments with the characters and see them interact as normal people before they get into the wondrous excitement and the action. But for the most part, I had a really good time. The cinema I was in was laughing quite a bit. I thought the jokes were fine, like not the best. Uh, there is something to be said for James Gunn's Superman and everyone who worked on the Fantastic Four. There's a few writers, there's a few screenplay writers, and I think, especially when it comes to comedy, look, you might not like James Gunn's sense of humor, or it might not appeal to you all the time, but there is a continuity with the gags in his movie because it's him. So it's just one person. This is a little bit all over the place, and I'm guessing that's because heaps of people are pitching jokes and then they're trying to uh, mold it into one form. But yeah, I'm glad I went and saw this on the big screen. I had a pretty good time. I'd like to see these characters again. I know they're going to be in Avengers Doomsday. It's a bit disappointing. I'd like to have just seen them in their own story for a while. You know, my hope is that everything becomes a little less interconnected, and they just kind of have fun with smaller arcs. And sometimes in the comic, a crossover would be, um, you know, Peter Parker's walking along and his spider sense goes off and he turns around and Thor's flying overhead. Uh, Sometimes the interconnectedness could just be as simple as that, and then you could just move on and not have to, once again, feel like you're stuck in the quagmire of having to read up and be across everything. But to watch a Marvel movie that's standalone with good actors, a storyline that pops along at quite a beat, and once again, another superhero story that is attempting to be optimistic and kid-friendly, I think that's a good thing. I think it's time. Don't forget the young people. It's been fascinating. I've spoken to a few people about taking their kids to see Superman, and they've been really debating it. And it's like, what's wrong with the world when you're debating taking your kids to see Superman? Do you know what I mean? Like, don't debate it. It's Superman. And you should take your kids to see Fantastic Four. Now, once again, I'm not saying this is a criticism of parents. It's a criticism of where these movies have gone over the last few years. Superheroes are, at best, they should be family entertainment. I've loved grown-up superhero stories, but, for the most part, keep them for the kids, keep them for the families. uh, Expose them, expose kids to big ideas and wild theories. And you know, there's a scene in this film when our heroes are trying to get away from the villain, and they have to use, pseudo science and mathematics to pull off a daring escape. And yeah, that's great. Kids should see that, and then they can discuss that with their parents, and maybe it inspires them to check out other things. But anyway, I bang on about that all the time. That's my big pet peeve with these films. And yeah, I think Fantastic Four is one that I enjoyed the first steps, and I'd look forward to seeing more steps forward. So uh, here's hoping that they have another standalone story coming up in the near future once we get past all of this Avengers Doomsday Secret Wars malarkey. All right, let's bring in Steve Molk to discuss the film more. We'll go into spoiler territory there. So if you haven't seen the film yet and you want to wait a second, maybe this is a good time to pause. Uh, we're not too bad with the spoilers. We don't give away everything. So if you're a little bit on the fence and you think, maybe I'm happy to have a few things said to me because it might provide some sort of incentive to go and check out the film, then yeah, maybe you can still join us. I'll pop in right at the end, and we can it'll just be to say goodbye and discuss other places that you can find me. You know what happens at the end of podcasts. Anyway, all right, let's bring in Steve Molk, and I will chat again to you soon. So, I don't know if you heard about this. I was speaking to, I won't mention who, actually, because I don't want to get them in trouble. But I thought there was a preview for Fantastic Four uh, a couple of weeks ago, and it turned out that
Mm.
it was all the stars and 24 minutes of footage, and that was it. And I found it audacious that they showed 24 minutes of footage because that must have been about a quarter of the movie.
Just about. And I wasn't there, so I don't know what 24 minutes they showed. I'd love to know now
Yeah,
because if I think of a 24-minute chunk of the film,
yeah,
other than maybe the first 24, which, is the big sort of exposition,
yeah.
everywhere else is just like, oh, this happened, and too late, you know it now.
Yeah, what a weird thing to realize. It's quite grateful that I wasn't invited to that. At first, I was like, I would have liked to have gone to that. And then when I
Hmm.
found out that's all it was, it's like, no, I'm
No,
good. I'm completely fine. Oh, yeah, you would have been in the same room as Vanessa Kirby. Great.
lovely.
Was she going to marry me? No, she was
No.
not. She's pregnant with someone else's child. It's not going to happen, so who cares? What's your relationship to the Fantastic Four?
I, as a child of television,
Mm,
Hammo, I like whenever I could get cartoons in my face,
yeah.
I would devour them. And I'm old enough to have been young enough when, because we would get them reasonably not immediate in Australia.
Mm,
So things like Fantastic Four cartoon or Inspector Gadget as a counterpoint example,
mm,
I would just sit there mesmerized. Like these stories that are coming to life, and it's clobbering time, man.
yeah.
And I loved that in the film, particularly they counterpointed the cartoon history with ostensibly what is a comic book story,
Yeah.
to yeah, having Ben going, I'm not going to say the line. I'm not going
Yeah.
to say the line.
Yeah.
Um, I did dabble with the comics, but my lovely parents had that marvelous moment where they went, "You need to read an actual book,
Right.
Stephen." So yeah, comics are fine, but first you have to read this book. Whatever.
Right. You weren't a reader? You didn't like books?
Oh, I devoured them.
Yeah.
It was something that I would get into and enjoyed, but it was never, if I'm real, it was never anything really of note. Like it was the
Right.
Hardy Boys or the Three Investigators,
Oh,
stuff
okay.
that kind of transformed me and took me away in that regard. That had a
Yeah.
bit of a scientific tilt because I was interested in science.
Yeah.
Um, but if I could get a sneaky, Iron Man or Fantastic Four or an Asterix and Obelix,
Yeah.
mate, you didn't see me for hours. I would reread those things over and over and over again.
It's a very funny thing, and also it shows the generational divide that reading comics was considered something that you should put away at some point. And
Yeah.
it's funny because if you go back and you read a Stanley script
Mm,
because it's operatic what he's writing and what Jack Kirby is drawing. It's big emotions and
yep.
it's words like Excelsior and gargantuan and
Yeah.
as I thought it sounded when I was a kid, omnipotent. I had a mum explain to me that was omnipotent.
Hmm.
But these were big words that you had to try and get your head around, and often big emotions. Now, some of those emotions were very much based in the 60s. It was
Yep.
Karen Page lamenting that Matt Murdock never paid her any attention, but Matt Murdock couldn't pay her attention because he was Daredevil, all that kind
Yeah.
of melodrama. But, there were big ideas as well. Like, did you, so I found this for you. The issue that Doctor Doom is introduced into the Fantastic Four.
Hmm.
This all happens in one comic. So
Yeah.
Doctor Doom comes to New York. He
Wow.
catches the Fantastic Four with a big net on the Baxter building.
Yep.
He takes them back to his country, Latveria,
Hmm.
tells Johnny, Ben, and Reed that they have to go back in time to get some treasure because it turns out Doctor Doom just has a time machine.
Yeah.
They all go back in time. The Thing, Ben, gets
Hmm.
mistaken for the pirate Blackbeard, so he decides he'd like to stay, but they all return to the present. But then they're in a death trap that they can't escape.
Oh,
But everyone has forgotten that Sue, not just living up to her name, but like most women in the 60s, is invisible.
invisible.
And she goes over to the control panel and sets the team free. And once upon a time, that would have been like now,
Mm.
that would be 8 months of story.
That's right.
And that was in one issue, 1 month. And the story that this movie's based on, the Silver Surfer and
Yes.
Galactus, that's two issues. Like they're two momentous issues, but it's two
Yeah,
issues.
big.
Oh, here they are, defeated.
Yep, done. Happy days. And we're spoilering, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely.
And delightful little sizzle. I mean, we knew that there was, the gentleman playing Doctor Doom has been announced. He's been revealed.
Yes.
What an interesting play too, just by the way, with RDJ now having that dual kind of capacity, and how does that fit into this multi-universe Marvel scenario?
Mm,
Um, but we see like a reverse angle shot to see Doom talking to the child
yeah.
at just like, oh yeah, and then it just comes up, you'll see them again in Avengers Doomsday. I'm like, yes, we will.
Yeah. It's funny. I don't know how I feel about Robert Downey Jr. returning to the Marvel Universe. There was a part of me that was like, well, the ending to the Iron Man story was pitch perfect.
Yep.
And then I think he just made the perfect pivot into back to grown-up movies in Oppenheimer,
Mm,
wins all the awards, not just one, all of them.
yeah, all of them.
And it's like, oh, I can't wait to see what he does next. And it's like, oh,
I
okay.
and like part of me, it's unlikely that they would have looked at. like Julian McMahon, right? Certainly
No.
not now, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And maybe that, was in the water. They maybe did have a conversation with him, but too sick, can't do it.
Yeah.
Um, I I'm gonna stick my neck out and say that there's a massive caveat on this. Feige and Marvel have had more than their fair share of missteps in the last couple of years.
Mm.
I I I think that what they are trying to do is solve the course correction without a massive swing the other way.
Mm.
And so there's obviously heaps of, press that's Robert Downey Jr. coming back into Marvel, but as a separate person.
Mm.
And at that point, when it happened, I went, yeah, that feels a bit weird. And yet to have, even in the opening sort of title card, Earth 828,
Yeah.
here's the Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
straight away, that's a separate multiverse
Mm.
to where we've seen and know even the new Avengers.
Yeah.
So this opens the door for the possibility that maybe not Tony Stark, but could be Tony Stark,
Mm.
has moved into Latveria, taken over, has decided that this is going to be his thing. And in
Mm.
this universe, Doctor Doom is Tony Stark. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know.
I don't
It would
know.
be hard for them to not even talk about it. They'll have to at least reference it.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm guessing that's a big part of it. I'm not even really looking at it from a Marvel point of view. I'm just looking at it from a Robert Downey Jr. point of view. He's a great actor. Like, he, I guess he likes money.
Yep.
I was hoping he would make things like his version of The Verdict, and
Mm.
I don't know, give me a detective story where he's an old
Oh,
grizzled detective who's, trying to solve one last case. Like, give me
yeah.
something
Some
like
rainy
that.
lightning and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so look, we have not mentioned what we thought of the film. Uh, what did you think of Fantastic Four: First Steps?
I was really pleasantly surprised. I went in eager. Like I always go into stuff going, come on, I want to be
Yeah.
excited. I'm enthusiastic. And I just came away feeling not like three-course meal satisfied, but I've had an amuse-bouche and I've had a couple of entrees and I'm really keen to see where this travels now.
Mm,
Yes, there are moments of it where you go, maybe I could, I don't know. But it's not, you don't look at it and go, why did Captain do that? What
right.
Who's the and I don't need to have 60 hours of other television programs or movies in my back pocket and floating about in my cerebellum to be able to understand what goes on here. It is a great establish the universe, establish our characters, and let's just get into it. And I
Yeah.
thought that was like just good movie fun.
It was a breath of fresh air in that regard. It's probably the first film in a long time where you haven't had to do
Yep.
any sort of homework.
Yes.
It was. Who do you think was the standout character? Because I have a clear number one, and I thought everyone was good, by the way, but I have a clear
Mm-hmm.
number one.
I've got equal firsts for
Mm,
different reasons. I thought that the emotional beats that Mos Baccarat brought to Ben
mm,
were really nice touches,
mm.
even down to when he turned up at the synagogue
Yep.
at the end, air quotes, and he's like, "No, I came to see you,"
Yeah.
and to see Natasha Lyonne respond, and it was just delightful. I thought that was great. And Vanessa Kirby just acted strength out of her will. It was that I'm going to say the intangibility of being able to express as an actress that here's this maternal instinct that I hold so deeply to my child. We have seen done in various different ways.
Mm,
Here is my child that I love deeply that we know is different, but we cannot quantify is different. And yet I now have the entire world telling me that I need to give up my child to
mm,
save the entire world. And that's
mm.
not happening beyond. And by the way, on the Invisible Girl, and I got some moves, baby. I
Yeah.
thought she was really solid, really
Yeah.
well written, and really well executed.
Yeah, I thought she was by far my number one, which is not denigrating anybody else.
No.
It was interesting because I think it was maybe I was discussing this with Adam Richard last night. I think it was maybe John Byrne who started back in the 80s, kind of putting Sue Storm front and
Hmm.
center as kind of being the most powerful.
Yep.
and the things that she can do with the force fields and the things that she can do
Yeah.
with her smarts as well. Because, like
She's
Reed
not dumb.
Richards,
Yeah.
right? Like they're all pretty smart on some level, which is one of the things that I really liked about this. Like I know that Johnny Storm is meant to be, the
Hmm.
slightly more shallow member of the group, but Joseph Quinn plays him really well, and you do believe that he, over
Yes.
time, can break down the language that the Silver Surfer is using.
And the key, and this is always tough in a multi-hander, right? How do
Mm,
you give each of the, in this case, four central characters a moment to shine?
mm,
How do we give them like development of their character?
mm.
And like, if we think back to, Avengers Endgame and those sorts of things, that's the pointy bit of seeing all of these characters with their bits that we know and love, where they just like say the line, we all get to see the line, hooray,
Mm,
and people win.
mm.
In this, because we're starting out, you've got to give us reasons to buy into each of these people.
Yeah.
And I think even just from Reed Richards introducing the team before they went up in effectively flashback,
Mm,
pick my team. I picked the smartest person I know, who happens to be my wife, the
mm,
best pilot, who is my best friend,
mm.
and the excellent the other guy, is my brother-in-law.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
straight out, here's this great team. All of them have great opportunity in the film to show who they are and what they do, and not just be, I've got a thing, but let's show you how my character grows or expresses themselves. Their reason for being isn't just a token, oh, he's the good looking one.
yeah. It was the world building at the beginning of going through here's how they came together. The
Mm,
talk show conceit was a really smart way of just getting you up to date.
yes.
I loved that this is a universe where in the 4 years that they've been together, they've taken on the Mole Man,
Mm,
they've taken on the Thinker, they've taken on the Red Ghost. I think John Malkovich even filmed scenes as the Red
I was
Ghost that they
hearing
didn't
that.
end up using, which is a shame. But it's a fully fleshed world. I loved that it's kind of Jetsons
Mm,
future where there is an improvement in technology because of these kinds of people, but it's also buttons, like it's
yeah.
keyboards and
Switches.
it's a little bit. I think this is what Noah Hawley's doing with the new Alien series, where he's
Mm,
getting back to that. It's in the future, but the equipment's clunky, and
yeah.
I love that aesthetic, and the setup of the characters was done really nicely. Pedro Pascal. Reed Richards is difficult to play because in the comics he can come across as a real asshole. But
Yep.
in this, they managed to find the soul in the character, but he's often just a little bit distracted and also catastrophizing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's what makes him a little bit distant because he feels this responsibility. So I thought all of that was really well played. And I was
Yeah.
quite fascinated that we got straight into her being pregnant. Like it
Yep.
was no mucking about. It was this is happening right now, first scene.
Yeah. And well, good, right? Because otherwise, it's all of a sudden 9 months has to vanish somewhere in
Yeah,
the middle of everything happening,
yeah,
and becomes a great motivation for why Galactus even gives a shit about Earth, you
yeah,
know?
yeah,
So and what great tension. The entire world wants you to give up your child
yeah,
so that the entire world can live.
yeah, yeah,
Like yeah, it was a rip. I agree that Reed can come off as an asshole because he is just super smart.
yeah.
And I think, oh, you're right. Absolutely. Pedro kind of edged that a little bit. There was moments where it's like, dude, just calm down a little bit.
Mm,
Even into that conversation where he was arguing ostensibly with Sue about, I intentionally let the bad things into my head so that I can work out how do we fix them? How do we
mm,
solve that?
yeah,
And there has to be an arrogance in that because he is taking responsibility not only for leading the four, for protecting the earth, but knowing that there is no one else outside these three friends that he lives with
yeah,
that can actually save the planet.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Um, Julia Garner as the Silver Surfer
Mm,
was really good. Um, there. It'll be interesting because I really love the Norrin Rad
mm,
version of the Silver Surfer. But I thought it was a good choice in this regard because it gave Johnny Storm, who is, notoriously a bit of a ladies' man.
Mm,
It just gave that a dynamic that
yeah.
may not have been there before. And Ralph Ineson as Galactus. There was a really small moment that I thought, and I'm glad they took this beat. And I'll get to some of my mild criticisms in a sec. But when he arrives on Earth and he just kind of
Mm,
lifts up all those trees and he smells,
mm,
and it's like this godlike being
yeah.
is, he smells, he hears, he can, he's coming to eat a planet. But there's something tangible about him that it, it's such a normal thing that we can relate to
Mm,
that it means kind of emotionally you buy the way they ultimately defeat him.
yeah. And it brings, I know Galactus is not human,
Mm,
brings a humanity to the portrayal
mm,
because we've seen heroes and villains in the
mm,
past have that negotiation with the earth
mm,
where they touch it, they smell it, they taste it before they
mm,
go into battle.
mm.
And we got that with Galactus, except that we know that in Galactus, it's like, oh no, smells good. I'm ready to devour this because I
Mm.
just have this insatiable, yeah, I cannot stop. I have to
Eat.
take it
Yeah, yeah,
all of
yeah,
the energy and all of the power.
yeah,
Um, I loved that Garner, like the way that Garner played the Herald, the surfer,
yeah,
brought, I think, this is the nature of the role, but a real dignity. And then even just that quick flashback to her experience and how she
yeah,
became the servant of Galactus as a
yeah,
sacrifice, I thought tied really neatly into then Johnny attempting to do the same right near
mm,
the end.
yeah,
Because he'd seen, and she smashes him out of the way. Hooray. Um, but, but excellent, again, excellent writing when we think about who the characters are. Yes, Johnny's a pants man, but he's got skills. He shows that he, engages and works out the language, but still is like, oh, the board isn't a part of her.
no,
It's a separate thing. Like, and even down to when he's sitting in makeup. Did you know the board's not a part of her?
yeah, 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 yeah. There were nice little moments like that. It was interesting to. So this is the first Marvel movie I have seen at the cinema since the last Thor film, which I was
Wow.
it just bummed me out so much, and
Yep.
I literally have not watched any of the Marvel movies, and only recently this year finally got around to watching Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3,
Yep.
which I thought was pretty good. It
Yep.
wasn't the best, but it was pretty good. But I hadn't. I went and saw Superman, and I saw
Yes.
this. So there's interesting comparisons in that they are both
Yeah.
stories that throw you into the middle of a world that already exists, and
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, we're visiting. We've just dropped into the timeline. And
Yeah.
and I think if I can be, I don't know this for sure, right? I'm hypothesizing, but if I can defend James Gunn for a second, Guardians was fine and a great resolution to that
Mm.
three-tailed kind of thing that he was the front of. His head was already out the door when,
Oh yeah, yeah,
they were
yeah.
pushing Guardians 3 out. So I'm happy to cut him some slack if what we get out of him now is ostensibly the Feige of DC, the guy that's making it
Mm.
turn on its head with the evidence of his involvement with Superman. Oh my Jesus.
Mm.
Like, that's going to be, can I say the best is yet to come? And they started with a pretty high bar.
Yeah, yeah. Look, but by the way, I didn't think there was anything particularly wrong with Guardians. I just
Mm,
I think there is just a sense of uh, just a little bit of Marvel fatigue. I'm a big
mm,
fan of Grant Morrison and Frank Quitely and Jamie Grant's We Three. So it felt like he was kind of grafting on those kinds of ideas into the
yep.
Guardians universe, which I don't have a problem with. Probably never going to get a We Three movie. So,
Hmm,
if we're going to get it through Guardians, I'm more than happy to see that. I guess I felt like it maybe just uh, it kind of pulled its punches a little bit
yep.
with characters, etc. But at the same time, uh, one of my, I've run the gamut of being a kid reading comics, and then, listeners of this podcast know that in the 80s, I was lucky enough to be getting Alan Moore and Neil Gaiman and Frank
Yep.
Miller and Grant Morrison and Pete Milligan and all of these, Colleen Duran, all of these great creators. And so
Yeah.
I was Arch Spiegelman, like I was that guy who was like, "Hey mate, fucking comics aren't for kids anymore." And as I get older, it's like, no, 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 comics have to be for kids, you know.
Yeah.
And I think we've gone through what we went through in the 90s, which was the awkward adolescence or teenage years of comics, where all the
Hmm.
lessons learned were incorrect. So people thought that comics had to were for grown-ups now, so they had to be dark and gritty, and everyone,
Right.
superheroes wore jackets, and they were Batman was getting his back broken, and Superman was being murdered, and all of these kinds of things, and then uh, they have to be brought down into the dirt to be considered real characters. And then we get the X-Men, which
Mm.
kind of makes it fashionable again. Like we get Blade that kind of kickstarts. Hey, we should
Yep.
look at comics. X-Men, the X-Men series is interesting because it's a real hit and miss affair. Some
Hmm.
things they get really right, some things they really mess up. But with the Dark Knight trilogy, the wrong lessons are taken out of that, where people to this day still comment on how dark it is, and it's like it's not. It's operatic. Like there's
Yeah.
jokes. There's heaps of jokes all the way through it, and even something like The Dark Knight Rises, which people criticize as, oh, it's a little bit silly. It's like, oh, you didn't watch Batman Begins. This
Yeah.
this matches up with that, and there's heaps of jokes in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but we end up with these Black Adam kind of movies, etc.
Yeah.
And so, if the lessons are finally being learned that these things should be for families and
Mm.
kids should be able to go along, then hopefully we're in a better position moving forward. And it was once again there were parallels between Superman and Fantastic Four. The thing that I'll hold against Fantastic Four though was
Mm.
there's so many writers and writing the screenplay and writing
Yeah.
story, and they're only the people that are talked about.
Mm.
James Gunn, Superman feels more fully formed,
Hmm.
regardless of whether there's bits and pieces in it that you like prefer or don't prefer or whatever. From the beginning to the end, it's a solid version of what he wanted to do. There's
Yeah.
bits in this film, there's a couple of things. One is, I think one of the hard things with Mr. Fantastic is that his powers in a comic make sense because
Mm.
it's drawn. But
Yeah.
movies are the real world. They're closer to the real world. So, you know, like he stretches, but he doesn't fucking turn into a balloon at any
Yeah.
stage, does he? He doesn't turn
Nah.
into a net to catch anybody because I think that would be too much for.
Not slingshotting anything.
He's not slingshotting anything, like him getting stretched by Galactus, and you're thinking, fuck, is he about to use him as dental floss?
Yeah.
That was about, the furthest they could go with his weird looking powers.
Yeah.
And also, it's funny, I'm glad that the movie's not overly long,
Mm.
but scenes didn't quite breathe for me.
Hmm.
I
What
would
do you
have
mean?
liked, well, I would have liked more time with Ben and Natasha Lyonne's character. Like
Yes.
scenes scenes are really short and they move through things really quickly, almost to the detriment of uh, you take away some of the moments where you could have quiet character
Mm.
interactions.
Yeah. I think that's fair, and it wouldn't surprise any of us, I think, to learn that there's another half hour, 40 minutes that could have slid
Oh,
or could easily slide back in that gives
you
us
can
that.
feel it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because apart from the caliber of someone like Leon, there even in there, like I said, that meeting at the synagogue towards the end versus the first interaction where it's the kids at school or
Mm,
the neighborhood,
mm,
and she has there's clearly some stuff that's traveled between there. Like
yeah.
that's not the second time or third time she's seen him.
No.
And it's not like, oh no, I see him on television all the time. It's not that kind of I think he's all right.
Mm,
She's drawn to, the Ben under the rocks, if I can use that
mm,
kind of his heart and
yeah.
this this character that we know is he's a soft, gooey center kind of guy
Yeah,
that just happens to have a beard that he's got to grind off every morning.
yeah.
Um,
I wasn't
and so
into the beard, I got to tell you.
you didn't like it,
No, I don't know why. It was just one of those things where it's like I think I think I think Ben Grimm has such an iconic look.
mm,
It's too early to be giving him a beard. I just want to watch. I just want to look at him as Ben Grimm. It's such a. It's not enough to take me out of it or anything. But and I probably wouldn't have even thought to bring it up. But I
mm.
was a bit like, why has he got a beard? I don't need the beard.
Mate, even the Fantastic Four had to make sacrifices, Hamo.
Right. So the beard.
Everybody had to pitch in,
Right. So he
except those fucking Latvians. Those guys can just fuck off.
Mate, I, the thing doesn't have a beard. Anyway, that's just one
No,
of
I
the
hear you.
small things.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll accept a female Shalabal Silver Surfer,
Mm,
but just let him look like Ben Grimm for one movie. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, for a whole film.
For a whole film, that would be nice. But yeah, it like that relationship, which goes to show the quality of the acting between
Mm,
them. Like you see him lift up the car and have a little chat, and then he
yep.
looks at her from a distance, and then he goes to the synagogue.
Mm,
It's like I could have used a scene with them in a cafe together.
mate. Yeah, just him like in the old neighborhood bringing us some cookies just because,
Yeah,
just because.
yeah, yeah. It's once again these are small things. It's nice to sit in a movie that powers through because Marvel has
Mm,
been notorious at stretching shit out, but maybe there could have been like even the scene when they're trying to get away from the Silver Surfer and suddenly the movie turns into Interstellar.
yeah, that's right.
Even some of the shots are
Right.
it's like when they're taking off into space and they're docking. It's
Mm,
like, mate, I know you better hope that fucking Matt Damon's not in there because this shit's about to decompress. But
serious problems coming.
but all of that was really fun, and uh, I would have liked to have I would like to have seen that black hole as an establishing shot as
Mm,
they're leaning into it. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
yeah,
all
yeah.
these edits, and it's like we never had a moment of looking at that black hole and going, "Oh shit!" It was like they're in it. You
Yeah.
know? So weirdly, I don't know where they could have made some edits. Maybe they could have had maybe a few less of. Um, I don't know, but I just would have liked some more moments to breathe. I'd like to have
Mm,
seen Sue and the Mole Man talking a little bit more. So when she brings him in as
yeah.
as a problem solving,
Yep.
or seen her, like I would have liked her to have seen him say some bad things about Reed to her, and then later she kind of relays that to Reed, and he gets uppity. So then when they have that little tete-a-tete, it just hits a bit harder because we've already had a one, two, three.
Yeah, it's like we have to infer or get the vibe that there's some
Yes.
history there when we see it happen, because
Yes.
clearly there is some history there.
Yeah.
Um, we get the newsreel kind of catch up to say, well, Sue helped negotiate this so that
Yeah.
Subterranea can coexist with the rest of the planet.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
And a good hook to to drag it back in that Subterranea then becomes part of the solution rather than
Yeah.
just never mentioned again.
Yeah. No, I like
Um,
that. Yeah.
but I agree. I think there's some. And look, maybe Doomsday helps give us some of this. So I suspect it will be another super busy,
Yeah.
17 million character film.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that they did have some moments. They absolutely could have had some longer moments to be able to develop some of that sort of stuff. Though the ones that they kept in, like the one very one-sided conversation that Reed has with his son
Mm.
while he's scanning him,
Mm.
was a as a dad certainly hit home a little bit hard because you could just hear these hopes and dreams laid into all of this.
Yeah.
And you also hear the biggest brain on the planet looking at his son and going, I don't know what you do. And
Yeah.
I know everything about pretty much everything else.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, that was one of my favorite moments where he says, I'm going to let you show me rather
yeah.
than try to work it out now. So it's it's a compliment to the acting and the
Mm,
bits of writing that they get right that I would have liked more character
mm,
because I think it's I think it could have just allowed the movie to breathe a little bit more. And the audience that I saw it with last night, a lot of young people, and they were laughing at
Yep.
the majority of the jokes. Some of the, once again, I think they could, uh, you know, jokes could be a little bit funnier,
Mm,
but for the most part, the audience was having a good time and was invested in it. So
yeah.
these are all small criticisms.
I'll take Doting Uncle Johnny and Uncle Ben any time of day.
Oh
Those
yeah,
two were delightful
yeah,
and just played that in exactly the way you would hope they would.
yeah.
And I think linked into this, Hammer, I don't think that like for the 2 hours, two and change that it goes for, it doesn't overstay its welcome and it
No,
rolls along at a pretty rocking pace.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely enjoyed that. Yeah, it's as I said, it just means emotionally it hits a little bit harder if you let characters breathe.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, we could have got the nearly 3 hour version and gone, oh God, it's just was
Well,
too long.
but I reckon it could have gone 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah,
Or I
fine.
reckon you
Right?
could. I reckon maybe you could have, um, like there's a scene where uh, Reed points out how he's trying to take down the wizard and the thinker and that to protect their
Mm,
son. Well, that's what? That's 90 seconds. That could have just been Ben and Leon having coffee.
yeah, please.
And then, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so, you know, once again, it's more a compliment to the actors and the characters that they created than anything else that I'd like to have seen them, have just down to earth discussions a little bit more, so everything kind of hits a bit harder. But I tell you what, it's a pretty positive film in the sense that at one point the whole world works together to come up with a solution,
Yep.
and it was nice to see. I think part of what entertainment, especially mainstream entertainment, needs to do is start presenting the world with more positive
Yep.
storylines and role models. Vince Gilligan, I think it was I don't know how recent this was, but I saw it at the start of the year where he said, we made all these TV shows about terrible people,
Terrible people.
specifically men. Maybe it's time to start writing about good people and not believe that, oh, that's boring or that's impossible. So if
Yep.
if within the span of a couple of weeks we have a positive Superman who still has flaws and is doing his best, and we have a positive Fantastic Four who are trying to unite
Mm,
a world to overcome an existential threat, and that I think that's a good thing, and I reckon
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if film critics will find that to be cynical and be dismissive of it.
Not
But
film critics, Hammer. No.
oh yeah, I know. It's funny. It's like there's some film critics that I love that I just in certain areas just go, no.
Mm,
Sometimes you just need to let something wash over you. But anyway,
yeah.
just having some positive reinforcement is something that everyone could use at the moment.
Oh, and look, just to tack into that, good news, I think announced even just today while we're talking, Vince Gilligan's got a new series coming
Yes,
to Apple TV Plus with
with Ray.
yes. Oh
Yeah,
my goodness.
yeah, I can't wait.
Come on.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
I'm
Uh,
here.
just before we go, I have to say I thought it was a nice touch that Earth 828 is
Kirby's birthday.
Kirby's birthday. That was a
Mm,
nice thing, I thought. And Jack Kirby is often forgotten to the mainstream public of uh, his influence on
mm,
this whole industry, everything from Marvel to DC, etc. So seeing him get some recognition was a very nice thing to realize at
yep.
the end of the movie.
Yep. Delightful.
Uh,
Delightful.
so what is it next? Avengers Doomsday?
I think so. I think
Yeah,
Marvel have and Disney have really pared back what their
yeah,
plans were
yeah.
so that they are getting over this fatigue to the point where I don't think there's another TV series even agreed to schedule.
No, well, they're making Daredevil Born Again season
Yeah, but
two.
it kind of has always fit around things anyway.
Yeah,
And because it's been established, but they're not talking, oh, we need to give, cap another thing, and we need to give the new Avengers something to allow us to understand each of who they are. No, we got literally got a film, guys.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, let's lean into whatever Von Doom wants to do to us.
I'd like to, I think the problem with a lot of these films now is that they made billions of dollars, and so
Mm.
the creative uh, inspiration for these films is that they uh, want them to continue making billions of dollars to help the board be happy,
Hmm.
and like I really enjoyed the Shang-Chi film, and I just don't know why. I recently rewatched Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon. I
Excellent.
managed to pick that up on really cheap on 4K. And it's like Shang-Chi should have just been him fighting, you know,
Yep.
50 martial artists in New York to stop
Yep.
them from getting some MacGuffin.
Yep.
Why is he flying around on the Never-Ending Stories Love Dragon? Just fucking he's the master of kung fu.
Kick some people's ass.
Yeah, and why not make that movie for 100 million, and bring in some some choreographers
Yep.
and excite us that way. It's always been my criticism of the second Wolverine film, The Wolverine, where he's in a village that's snowing and there's 100 ninjas there, and they cut to him fighting a big silver CGI centurion, and it's like,
There's a
mate,
hundred
that's
ninjas there,
there's a
man.
hundred ninjas.
Yeah, come on.
He's got knives. They've got swords. Like,
Yeah.
just give me 20 minutes of choreography and red blood splattering on white snow.
Yeah. Please.
I would love that. Have I told you what I would do if you know how they're going to reboot everything?
Sure.
The idea is Secret Wars will reboot the Marvel universe, etc. Man, I would just have like 70s characters in the 70s. So I'd put Daredevil back in the 70s. I'd have
Yeah, come
Power
on.
Man and Iron Fist. I'd have the Peter
Yeah.
Parker
Mm.
Spider-Man back there. And have Wilson Fisk, have Moon Knight back there, have all those characters in the 70s, have some fucking Curtis Mayfield playing,
Yeah.
film it in, deep purples and reds and
Mm.
blues, and have it in a New York that's dirty and
Yeah, the
grimy.
garbage is piled up.
Do you know what I mean? Like that would
Yeah.
be where villains could really just want to steal money,
Yep.
you know?
It's not about
Um,
global domination. Just give me another million.
yeah, and then then if you want Spider-Man to be able to interact with uh, modern day characters, then we can have Miles Morales as the new Spider-Man in the current universe.
Yep.
And you get someone in young enough to play the new Thor, and you can have Thor in the background back
Yes,
then,
you
and you can have
can.
Thor in because he's a god. He doesn't age.
Yep.
You can do all of these things. Anyway, that's what I would do.
I'm with
But,
you.
but I'm a guy sitting in a room by myself in Sydney, so everyone has a solution, right?
Right, mate. We are perfectly poised to solve everything and have no one listen to us to do it.
Absolutely. Mate, thanks for jumping on and having a chat about this. Where can people find you? What do you have coming up?
Well, because my online stuff lives with tvblackbox.com.au, we are about to hit television Christmas in Australia, and that is the Logies are
Mm,
coming. And
mm,
I'll be standing on the side of a red carpet, pointing a talking stick at anyone that will stop.
mm.
So that'll be a bit of fun. And our socials will have the clipped up versions of those things. And hopefully, I'll get to ask some stupid and some fun questions and not have too many people walk past because they either don't like me or they're bored.
Yeah,
Welcome to the Logies, friends. It's a very weird machine. Other than that, it is just hotly anticipating a whole bunch of great TV that is still to come this year.
yeah,
None of it on free-to-air television.
yeah. I'll tell the chasers to keep an eye out for you, so you
Oh,
can
yeah,
you
no,
can
it's always great to high five those guys. It's
yeah
awesome.
you can drop my name with that. Just quickly? What's your favorite TV show of the year?
I have a list. If I'm gonna, it's gonna be a hard mix between Andor and The Pit.
Mm, yeah, I'm I'm right with you. I'm right
It's
up there.
in the feels with those two things.
Yeah. Are you excited for Alien Earth?
Look, I really am. I was
Yeah, so
surprised
am
because I
I.
didn't think that I was going to be, and I've just seen more and more bits start to eke out and press that I get sent information about. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah, I have a lot of faith in Noah Hawley,
Mm,
and I've watched each trailer once just to get a feel for it.
Yep.
And in that latest trailer where you see that alien just in the distance
Mm.
on Earth, I went, "Yep, that all looks good. I'm ready
I
to
don't
go."
like jump scares. It's going to scare the crap out of me, and I'm here for it.
Mate, it's good for the abs. Hold the stomach tight.
Yep.
It'll be good. All right, mate. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hammo.
Thank you to Molk for taking the time to talk to me about the Fantastic Four movie. And make sure that you follow him on all the different social media platforms that he exists on. Thank you to you for taking the time to have a watch of this, have a listen to this. For those of you who may not be across this, but things have changed a little bit in my life recently. And yes, I'll be around a little bit more. I've gone freelance at this point in my career, and it is opening up a whole lot of new doors and new directions for where I'll be taking things. So keep an eye out for more stuff that's going on through this podcast or through this video as you may be watching it. Uh, if you would like to subscribe to my Patreon, patreon.com/Justin Hamilton, you can find live shows that I've filmed. You can find bonus podcasts. You can get ad-free versions of this podcast. I've also started a YouTube page. It is something that I've been meaning to do for a long time. It is right at the starting stage of it. There's only a few things up there at the moment. But if you'd like to go and subscribe and watch it as it slowly builds, Justin Hamilton Comedian at YouTube. And you can also find me. I reckon maybe Instagram is probably the best place to find me, Justin Hamilton Comedian. I'm on Threads, I'm on Blue Sky. I pop up a little bit on Facebook. We have a little secret Facebook group, which when this podcast used to be called Big Squid, it's the little secret Big Squid Facebook group, and it's such a good group of people. So that's what keeps me going back to Facebook. If you feel like you'd like to be a part of a little secret group in the pockets of Facebook, come and find us there. Answer the questions just so I know that you're a real person. There's questions there that are just to prove that you're real, and a lot of people don't answer them, and you go, "Ah, I don't know if I can let you in. You could be anything or anyone." But yes, you can find me in all those different places. Upcoming gigs you can always find at justinhamilton.com.au. And yes, there's more things coming, and I will share them with you as soon as they present themselves. If you wouldn't mind doing me a big favor, if you could give us a top rating on whatever platform you listen to this podcast, that would be fantastic, as it helps push through all the different algorithms that are set up to work against you. I don't belong to any group. I'm not affiliated to anyone. So any help you're sending is coming directly to me and not going to anyone else. So maybe that'll appeal. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much for even just taking the time to listen. Let me know what you thought of the Fantastic Four when you see it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Is it going to change the world? Not really. Is it the greatest thing I've ever seen? Not really. Did I have a really nice time, and did it kind of tick the boxes that I needed to have ticked on a Wednesday night while I was sitting in the cinema watching it? Yeah, 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 it did. And sometimes just having a nice time is an absolute win. So there you go. All right. Thank you very much. Let's chat again soon. Until then.